We conclude our segments on creative destruction with important lessons from the churn. There are 14 of them, but I'm going to go fast here. Number one, microeconomic failure is not macroeconomic failure. Microeconomics refers to the activities of individual businesses or industries. Macroeconomics refers to the functioning of the overall economy. When a business fails, oftentimes that's the economy succeeding at transferring resources from less efficient providers to more efficient ones. So that's macroeconomic success. There were 262 automobile companies in America in 1920. Just 4 of them have survived until today. The rest failed to keep up. But the industry succeeded at making better, cheaper, faster, and safer cars. And now, 94% of Americans aged 16 and over can afford cars. That's success. Number 2, those who succeed from change in the past are likely to be rich today and would like to stop change to preserve their status quo wealthy position in society. With their money, they oftentimes get involved in politics, lobbying rent-seeking politicians to protect their vested interests in return for big campaign contributions. If they win, though, we lose. The rapid spread of railroads through America from 1870 to 1890 was hurting the existing canal industry, which had become rich. So what did they do about it? They wrote President Andrew Jackson, demanding that he stop the spread of railroads, which roar and snort their way through the countryside, setting fire to the crops and frightening the women and children. The letter was written by Martin Van Buren, the governor of New York, who had the wealthy canal owners as his campaign and political supporters. The same thing has been happening today as the growth of Uber upsets the taxi industry. No longer can New York City sell taxi cab medallions to cab drivers for over $1 million. Uber has hurt taxi drivers and New York City's budget, and so they fight against progress. It's a shameful but common battle. Number 3 is the notion that value is inherent in matter, that if we're not producing something that's tangible, we're not producing value. That's the industrial mindset, and it's backward. This is the U.S. Ford assembly plant in the industrial age. Industry peaked here in America in about 1953, and then we moved onward and upward to become a service nation. Countries who try to get rich pushing the industrial model forever always learn that it takes them only so far. To get further upward in income, the vertical axis here, you must eventually cut back on industry, the horizontal axis, and move your workers onto highly valued knowledge-based services. Jobs such as doctors, lawyers, engineers, computer programmers, biological and life scientists, financial analysts, professors, real estate salespersons, consultants, and so on. This is value. American cities who wouldn't start moving their economy from being goods-based to service-based all eventually paid the price, shrinking from being the biggest amongst American cities to way back in the pack. Number 4, flexibility is the key, both to survival and to success. Recent advances in artificial intelligence, or AI, have begun to worry people in some industries. For example, ChatGPT software and other AI developments have become an issue in the film and television industry. In round 1 of the battle, both writers and actors went on strike, mostly over pay for streaming. and partly because of concerns that AI is going to harm their ability to make money. But many of the rounds will follow. As I record this, it's too early to say how it will all shake out, but it's inevitable that technology will remake the industry, and those who survive therein will find a way to work with the new technologies rather than fight against them. Another example, at one time, Kodak had nearly all of the camera and film business in America. But Kodak did not make the necessary move away from celluloid film cameras when the technology for digital cameras arrived. Kodak was very slow to respond, and their late arriving digital cameras were very expensive. Along came the less expensive Japanese models with better features, and also the early flip phones. The death knell, of course, was the iPhone, and out goes Kodak. Their inflexibility soon created a shrinking job picture at Kodak, and their stock price began tumbling until eventually the company went bankrupt. Number 5, be willing and able to mutate. General Electric managed to remain among America's 20 most valuable companies for a century. They started off as Edison Electric, producing electricity to power light bulbs and so on. Today, though, they do none of that. They have mutated many times and become a conglomerate significant in aerospace, broadcast media, gas turbine engines, nuclear-powered submarines, as well as appliances, financial products, and a lot of other things. Blockbuster, which at one time virtually owned the home video rental business, did not mutate when the internet came out. They died. Radio Shack had the first personal computers, which they sold in their stores. The computer business model changed, however, but not Radio Shack. They went bankrupt just 15 years after reaching an all-time high in market value. Number 6, be willing to downsize. The 10 biggest corporate downsizers of the early 1990s had an overall 25% increase in productivity in just a 5-year period. And they had a 131% increase in their average stock price. That's a performance which on both counts far exceeded the average of the nation's businesses. Number 7, corporate raiders are an important part of how the capitalist evolutionary process works. They're often characterized by their target companies and by the media as being evil. But corporate raiders perform a very important function. For example, sometimes companies get bad apples amongst their management. The people who run the company even try to loot it, steal from it, for their own personal gain. The problem is well known. It's called the principal agent problem. Corporate raiders look for that sort of bad behavior in others in management. It usually shows up as an unexplained low profit or an unexplainable low stock price. They buy the company, fire the offending management, then replace them and run the company right. What's in it for the corporate raiders? The stock price jumps up and they sell, reaping a large gain, but also restoring the company to health. Characters like Larry the Liquidator, played by Danny DeVito and Other People's Money, are the autoimmune system of capitalism. They are very important to the health of the economy. Number 8, the peak in a company's market value often occurs long before its peak in sales. Look at 1917 here. AT&T was ranked as the second most valuable company in America at this time. Yet the telephone business was still small and unprofitable, and very few folks had a phone. So how could it be that AT&T was so valuable? The answer is that stocks measure the present discounted value of expected future profits. Future profits, not just today's sales and today's profits. Knowing that and looking at the top 20 in 2019, what do you expect tomorrow's economy will be like? This list is already telling you. Number 9, buy and hold doesn't work. You can buy and hold right through the whole show. As I mentioned in Module 2, Bed Bath & Beyond reached its peak market value on December 20th, 2014, less than a decade before it went bankrupt. Here is BlackBerry stock from the year 2000 to 2015. Its peak came in April of 2008, just 10 months after the iPhone arrived on the scene. A similar pattern of peak, followed by bankruptcy soon thereafter, holds for Sears, Radio Shack, Blockbuster, and many other companies. You can't just buy, you've got to sell when the time is right. Number 10, unions kill both jobs and companies, constantly marching and picketing for more money, higher benefits, shorter hours, and more. Union demands of business are never ending. The result? Death of the company and the jobs therein. United Auto Workers made an average of $73.26 an hour, including pay and benefits, back in the early 2000s. There's no way a U.S. auto company could remain competitive globally back then, paying workers so much more here than what they made abroad. Indeed, so much more than most other U.S. workers. So what happened? Our auto companies lost global market share as foreign auto companies grew, and U.S. auto companies laid off workers as they automated the plant as fast as they could. Unions are a primary source of the fact that America's share of global auto production has shrunk from 45% in 1968 to just 4.5% today. Even the union workers themselves lose from their actions, and this long list of job cuts in the auto industry proves it. Here's a quote from Henry Ford. "At least I don't have to deal with the robots union." Well, what was the question he was asked? I'm sure you could tell. "Mr. Ford, why are you replacing workers with robots?" There's a reason why unions are on the decline in America. We can't afford them, especially in a globalized world economy. Number 11, small businesses are the engine of job creation. During the 1990 to 95 period, firms in the 1 to 19 person size range created by far the most jobs in the country. The big ones cut jobs. Number 12, the biggest investment returns happen at the individual company level. Canon up, Kodak down. There are huge investor gains for picking company winners and big losses for holding on to losers. $40 could buy a single share of Coca-Cola stock in 1919, but it would be worth $6.68 million in April of 2000 if you had held onto the stock and reinvested all its dividends back into Coke. Number 13, the next biggest investment returns happen at the industry level. The values of whole sectors of stocks tend to shift over time with change. A portfolio of mainly manufacturing and energy stocks became less valuable from 1970 to 1999, but a portfolio of high-tech, telecom, and health stocks grew strongly. Number 14, don't be a Luddite. I'm in favor of progress. It's all the changes I don't like. Have you heard that? Ned Ludd and his band of followers became famous for using sledgehammers to smash the machinery in the textile mills of 19th century England because the new industrial way of production was upsetting the age-old cottage industry way of textile production and the lifestyle it supported. Ludd was a hero to some back then, and even today, some people want to stop progress and keep things just the way they are. They're known as Luddites. Don't be a Luddite. It won't work for you. Do the opposite if you want to have a vibrant and a good career. Fight the churn. Instead, understand it, embrace it, and use it to your advantage. Surf the waves of change and let them carry you onward and upward. I'm going to say this again, but in a different way for emphasis, repeating something I have said in Module 4 because I believe it's the biggest takeaway for you from this material. It's this. New technologies are coming out all around us today. Electric, self-driving vehicles and the automated travel network, drones, 3D printers, artificial intelligence with things like ChatGPT. And then there's nanotechnology, amazing new materials like graphene, and the really big one for your generation, CRISPR, which is gene editing. These new technologies and more are bringing with them a lot of new creative destruction. But put aside your fear and instead think of the opportunity this brings. Ask yourself this question: how can you best position yourself to benefit from the change that's going on all around you? People who think this way become the moguls of tomorrow. It can be you. Make it you. I hope you enjoyed our segments on creative destruction. Thank you for watching.